Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Business, and judging by the title of the video today, yeah, I'm going to be covering some US cruisers, and I don't know if this is going to be a regular series. I think that I'm probably just going to cover the US initially, and we'll just see how it goes from there.
Off to a great start.
God, that's loud. And as far as things are concerned for, basically today is going to be the Omaha, and I know a lot of people hate that ship. It's still one of my favorite ships to play in the game, and that's really weird to say, actually. So, a lot of these ships are much maligned, though, as far as, the expectations and, the overall player experience for a lot of these ships is pretty bad. And the Dallas getting 2 close quarters experts, I mean, how the hell did that happen? And then obviously I screw up some shots here against this Hipper, but whatever. So it's the thing about these ships is that they tend to be glass cannons with a very low emphasis on the cannon part and very high emphasis on the glass part. So they are dev strike bait for a lot of players, and actually for a lot of situations. And even the heavy cruisers like the Baltimore, the Buffalo, the Des Moines, they are very much the same. And of course the heavy cruiser also applies to the Pensacola, the New Orleans, and the Indianapolis, because it's based off of armament, not the actual armor of the ship. So, but the main thing that you need, regardless of whatever cruiser for whatever nation that you're playing, is the one overriding factor of everything here is simply luck. Because you can't control what the other player is going to do as far as where they're going to shoot, and more to the point, you have no idea what their dispersion is going to roll. So if it's going to roll good, too bad. It doesn't matter what ship you're in. You can't defeat somebody's dispersion. And that's one of the, I guess, the real hard points for a lot of people when playing cruisers, and why I think that when it comes to the various ship types and whatnot, that another close quarters expert, why I think a lot of people tend to struggle with the various cruisers, and they, some of them are easier to play because, they're much better off at the long range game. Others do better, in the mid-range game because they're maneuverable, they have torpedoes, even just the threat of torpedoes, even if they're not in the water or ever go into the water at all, you don't want to get closer than a given point against some ships, because those torpedoes, they just change things drastically. They are the giant slayers, and you don't really get that with a lot of these light cruisers after the Omaha. And the only US light cruiser that has torpedoes after the Omaha is the Atlanta, and those are 4.5 kilometer torps. So it's pretty damn situational. But if you do get torpedo kills or hits with these ships, they tend to be pretty significant in terms of changing the immediate nature of a fight, typically by ending it or by causing enough damage to a ship that you just keep going and that person's flooding out and they're on fire, that sort of thing. I mean, there's all sorts of reasons that these ships are absolutely fantastic at ambushing, and its flexibility, maneuverability, rate of fire, the overall ability to adapt to a given situation. As far as, and I know that guy was super close to launching torps too, but the ability to kind of level the playing field regardless of whatever your health is, simply by throwing torps in the water, is a huge factor. And honestly, a lot of these ships, like the Omaha and the Phoenix, actually have pretty damn good torp arcs, and I think they tend to be somewhat overshadowed by the fact that they are, like I said before, dev strike bait. And the Omaha is a ship that I used to play with great frequency, and I actually stopped playing it for, I didn't play for at least a year, I think, and it wasn't a ship that was really connecting with me for a while. And what you have to remember is that the Omaha had, and this is a bit further back, AFT and BFT used to affect guns up to 152 kilometers, 152 millimeters in diameter, and now it's 139, and that's a big thing when it comes to these ships because they used to have significantly greater range. Actually, expert marksmen used to benefit these cruisers a lot more. Give them much faster turret traverse. These were the jack of all trade ships, easily at tier 4, 5, 6, and it was really hard to fight against them. And in some cases, I mean, like the Murmansk, oh my god, the range you could get with that thing, especially with the spotter plane, was insane. And I'm thinking that I still have, as far as a random battle is concerned, I think the Omaha still holds my record for most citadels in the match. And I have this video way back. I think I had like, what was it, 26, 27 citadels? No, I think it was 24 and then 23 or something like that. It was ridiculous, basically. And I basically called it the Promaha because it was so damn good. And of course, a lot of that is simply the fact that you're playing a mid-tier ship, low mid-tier ship, and you get to exploit a lot of those newer players or the players who simply aren't comfortable playing at higher tier because there's too much going on, or maybe not necessarily too much going on, but there's too much crap as far as consumables and all that stuff, and they just don't want to play it anymore because, maybe it's a bit sensory overload. I don't know. There's any number of variables for that. I love the mid-tiers myself. I have really just kind of just shoved away the whole tier 8, 9, 10 nonsense because I'm tired of it. And I started playing this again, and it turns out to be pretty fucking good. And this guy got really pissed off at me. Oh man. So I'm running Adrenaline Rush, which is why I have such a ridiculous reload on my torpedoes. And now I'm not going to show what he said in chat because it really wasn't nice at all. But suffice it to say that he wasn't a happy camper. And I just want to say, before getting into what is one of my best cruiser matches ever, especially considering the fact that it's an Omaha, I think that whenever you post a good video or good screenshots of a game or whatever, the immediate reaction for most people that play this is not, oh wow, that's actually pretty damn impressive, or damn dude, nice job. It's, how can I deconstruct this to point out the fact that the only reason that happened is because that team was shit, or that it was the NA server, so of course everybody's just awful. And, or you had like an AFK, so everybody on the enemy team was distracted by that, and blah blah blah. Give it a fucking rest. Nobody cares. If it were that easy, then this type of stuff where you have like an amazing game would be done a hell of a lot more often. Or, here's a twist, you would do it yourself. But chances are that's not the case. So, in that regard, I think it's hilarious when people immediately try to tear things apart and just not appreciate, good play for what it is, or simply lucky play, which I would rather take luck over good gameplay, as far as skill, any day of the week. And, I mean, so long as we're playing a game that's more luck-based than skill-based, then that is exactly what I would prefer to, rely upon, as opposed to, well, actually benefit from. And, everybody makes really stupid mistakes, and there's pretty much no match that anybody plays that's flawless. There's always something that they could do better, whether it's timing, their aim, use of consumables, whatever it is. It's just a bit more complicated than what people try to make it out to be. But one of the biggest factors of surviving with a ship like this is simply staying at a bit of a distance and understanding who has the ability to shoot at you and minimizing the amount of people who can shoot at you. And then when you break that down, it's essentially a flowchart. Who can shoot at me? How much damage can they do? And are there turrets looking at me? Blah blah blah. It's all, you try to narrow down to whoever your biggest threat is at that given point in time. And with the light cruiser, I really feel, especially with light cruisers, because again, they're just simply more susceptible to taking massive hits from any real given target. I feel like this is the type of ship that will teach you so much more about how to play and how to play well in terms of positioning, and kind of get you more comfortable with the fact that when you get nuked, there's really nothing you can do about it because of overmatch mechanics, and just sometimes you can't be in any other situation other than a situation that gets you depth struck. It happens. There's no way to avoid it sometimes because, hey, you had to take out that enemy destroyer, and that had to leave you open to 3 battleships just waiting for you to show your broadside. And they don't even have to wait for your broadside. All they have to do is just shoot you right through the damn nose anyways, because they'll overmatch you. So, yeah. But, back to the match here. Finally got our first kill. Got about 45,000 damage trying to save our carrier here. Got the Praise the Horn going on as the Torps find their mark and take out their Furutaka, the A-hull. So, luckily there, the carrier only took one torpedo, but he's still pretty damn low health, and now he's got to try to, accelerate here. Good luck in the bogue. As a C-hull Furutaka is laying down some fire on them too. Now, there's a critical thing going on here. So I'm paying attention, obviously, to the Furutaka, right? Because his shells can be nasty. His turrets aren't facing my way, but he looks like he might be getting into a torp situation. That battleship that I just took a look at, I just did a double take on. Yep, he's waiting for his shot against me. So luckily I'm rounding the corner here, and I'm trying to cut in as tight as I can, and thankfully that was possibly not what he expected me to do. So it looked like he thought that I would continue straight, and that was lucky, because if he, say, ripple salvoed that, where he would adjust the shot for each turret, then there's a good chance that I would have taken a fair amount of damage, or maybe half or more of my health in Citadel damage, that sort. But regardless, I got lucky as hell there, and again, I'll take luck. So the Furutaka, I'm not entirely sure what the hell he's doing here. So our carrier's dropping on him with torps, right? And at this point, he has no way to drop his torps on me. His torp arc is pretty bad on that ship, and which is unfortunate, because I feel like this could be a lot more effective if it had just 20 degrees more. Well, actually, I guess I would say 20, 40 degrees more torp arc. That would be pretty interesting for that ship. But he's just not paying attention to me, because this is one of those things, a carrier gets involved and all of a sudden people just lose their fucking minds. They can't see anything other than that carrier. Cool, I'll take advantage of that. No problem. And I guess it's situations like that where you can kind of identify whether or not somebody's experienced and just playing around in a new ship line, or wanting to have some fun, because typically people who have a number of games under their belt, or they are learning from their mistakes, wouldn't allow a situation like that to happen. So I don't feel bad about it, don't get me wrong. He's on the enemy team, so, he has to die, just like everybody else. I don't care who you are on the enemy team, you just need to die, because you're an enemy. So if you're red to me, you're dead to me. Boom. So the Kaiser here went ahead and used up his... Or actually, Koenig, I can't tell, this damn resolution's so low. His repair just went off and everything, so hey, we got another fire on him. Awesome. And we just passed the 100,000 damage mark, and that's pretty damn good. Like, for this ship, I think that's fantastic. And got the Confederate there as well. I mean, we've taken minimal damage, and we've maximized positioning and opportunities, and we're setting multiple fires on this poor bastard who has no real way of replying in kind with any damage, especially because he's preoccupied with shooting an enemy carrier, which would be my carrier. So that's just one of those things. I guess in this situation it does make sense, because that's the more immediate threat to him in terms of the potential damage spike from, you know, dropping torpedoes and all that stuff. So it makes sense in his scenario to go after the carrier because he doesn't really have any other option there. So we set another fire on him, got high caliber and arsonist. Not bad. 128,000 damage, and we're just gonna keep that going. So our Hosho's trying to quote unquote run away, but it's a Hosho, and that doesn't exactly happen all that quickly. So trying to nail the enemy cruiser here with, and again, I can't tell, I think, yeah, it's an emerald. Trying to just make sure that I can get some extra damage on him, screw up his modules or whatever, because a lot of people at this tier, if you take out their engines, they're typically dead in the water, so they don't run last stand on light cruisers, which is typically one of those things that I recommend, because even HE is going to take that, you know, your engine out, your steering out, and it's going to do it frequently because that's what you're mostly going to be dealing with. But decide to switch over to the enemy Langley here and trying to aim for that sweet fat spot right underneath the stacks at the rear, and that is where the Citadel is going to be located. I show this all the time whenever I'm playing, say, the Clemson or something like that, and going up an enemy against an enemy Langley, you know, the Dursky or whatever. That spot of the ship, like, you don't need to shoot at any other part of the ship unless you're, you know, at a distance and just trying to get some fires on them. Yeah, that's one thing. But as far as trying to maximize your damage, you definitely want to aim towards that back third there, roughly. So I overled there, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't have just said everything I just said, because that wouldn't have made any sense. So, enemy carriers trying to focus me down and everything. Another dive bomber drop that missed. So it looked like, based off of the splashes there, that he lined me up pretty decently, but he just wasn't able to get any damage on me, and you know, caused me to deter from what I'm currently doing here, which is basically trying to push right in against the enemy Juho here to see if I can rack up damage quickly. I wanted to use AP, like get along his side and use AP, because, you know, the ship could do pretty well with the AP, that's for damn sure, but only if it has some really easygoing angles. You're going to be doing a lot better overall with your HE, of course. So now having the torpedo bombers come in, and I'd been dodging attacks the whole match and everything, so it's only a matter of time before something happens here. And of course, because I have to maneuver, it's taken my eyes off of trying to take out the enemy carrier and get the Kraken. So finally I end up taking some damage. Sucks, but oh well, it is what it is, no big deal. And I could still take a couple more torps if I needed to. It's only a tier 4 Langley, so it's not that bad. And it's not like he can manual drop on me or anything. It's the Omaha is a maneuverable enough ship to be able to make something happen there in a positive way, as far as being able to avoid a lot of damage, or, you know, most of a drop from a carrier, even if it's say tier 6. But that just kind of depends on, you know, your speed and angle and all that. And I'm trying to make sure that I have the chance to actually secure this Kraken, because I fought damn hard to get this far, and you know, trying to just make sure that I get my due course, because I want that Kraken at this point, especially with this damage total being so fucking high. And right in the sweet spot. Hell yeah.
Enemy aircraft carrier sunk.
Now, I'm not saying any of this stuff is easy, of course. As far as being a light cruiser, you're going to get dev struck. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. And that's that. But at the same time, there are some points that you can consider to try to help yourself. Mainly, you got to know who has shots on you at any given time. That feeds into the other point where it's keeping your head on the swivel, because spatial awareness is not just an offensive tool, but a defensive one as well. And you need to try to keep your distance in open water so you have time to react, while also not being afraid to seize those opportunities of ambushing, because nothing levels a playing field like torps to the face. Know when to fire, when to stay dark, and of course, just keep that rudder working. One of the most frustrating things to deal with is somebody who's just shaking that ass, so it can be pretty frustrating. But hope you enjoyed today's video, guys, and I will see you back here for hopefully the next one with the Atlanta. Take care, everybody.